Louisiana is well known for having the highest incarceration rate in the world, and many of the 38,000 inmates in Louisiana prisons and jails were convicted by jury decisions that are not allowed in 48 other states.
Louisiana is one of only 2 states that allows somebody to be convicted of a felony by means of less than a unanimous vote of the jury.
Death penalty cases must always be unanimous, but in Oregon, the only other non-unanimous state, juries can convict people accused of other felonies with an 11-to-1 vote. Louisiana allows convictions with a 10-to-2 vote.
It is much easier to arrive at a guilty verdict if you don't have to get everybody to agree.
According to historian Thomas Aiello in Jim Crow's Last Stand, Louisiana's non-unanimous jury system came about after the Reconstruction era. He says it was an effort to re-enslave black men.
And the idea was to convict as many people, black people, as possible, to send them to Angola where they could be used for convict leasing.
During the Reconstruction era, slaves, a huge workforce, had been set free. Prison inmates were leased out to businesses and plantations to replace that workforce.
They basically created this convict leasing system to make it easier to convict black folks to continue to work on these plantations.
Aiello says Oregon's non-unanimous jury law came about in the 1930s due to a strong anti-Jewish sentiment fueled in part by a Ku Klux Klan organizer from Louisiana.
It came from the same kind of racist history.
Emily Maw of the Innocence Project New Orleans and Marjorie Espin of the American Civil Liberties Union believe non-unanimous juries tend to be less thorough.
They don't ask as many questions. They're quicker to come back with a verdict.
There is less discussion of potential problems with evidence.
But Plaquemines Parish District Attorney Charles Ballet disagrees. He says a decision by 10 out of 12 is a higher standard than the U.S. Supreme Court has for its decisions.
And it's a simple majority, 5 out of 9. 55.5% of the U.S. Supreme Court can decide a decision that affects us all around this whole country.
Our Constitution requires that there should be proof beyond a reasonable doubt. If 2 people out of 12 are not convinced of somebody's guilt, then by definition that is reasonable doubt.
Orleans Public Defender Will Snowden says the ability to disregard doubts of 2 jurors undermines justice.
People are having their constitutional rights violated.
But the Louisiana District Attorneys Association says any claim that non-unanimous verdicts are unconstitutional are simply false.
It's certainly constitutional that this issue has been raised before our state Supreme Court as well as the U.S. Supreme Court many, many times, and it's been upheld all the time.
The Innocence Project says 44 convicts have been exonerated in Louisiana over the past 26 years, 24 of them convicted by juries that could have reached non-unanimous verdicts. Of those, Emily Maw says almost half, 11 convictions, were less than unanimous.
11 people have been convicted in Louisiana who were not guilty of the crime, absolutely innocent, because we permit non-unanimous jury verdicts.
When you convict the wrong person, not only have you cost an innocent person years of their life, but you've also left the actual perpetrator out on the street. Public safety is actually harmed by this.
Pete Adams of the State District Attorneys Association says claims that non-unanimous verdicts result in more convictions are speculative and unsupported by credible research. He says there is no credible evidence that requiring unanimous verdicts will improve the reliability of verdicts.
In addition to that, of course, we have an appeals process. And in Louisiana, it's fact and law. So the appellate courts look at the entire record.
And yet, according to the National Registry of Exonerations, Louisiana has the second highest per capita rate of exonerations in the nation. Orleans Parish the highest per capita rate of any county in the country, more than 9 times the national average. Jefferson Parish the 5th highest per capita rate. Espin says it's evidence that too often
we're convicting the wrong people.
Dennis Woltering, Eyewitness News.